All human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. They are endowed with reason and conscience and should act towards one another in a spirit of brotherhood.
I have two flags.
My flag is that one.
It's right there. My flag is that gap right there.
Over there, the white flag with the red dot in the middle, that's Japanese flag, and to me, I don't know, that represents how I feel, and to me that actually is more important to me than the American flag, because I don't know, I take more pride in being Japanese.
That flag is yellow, blue, and red. It's next to the Chinese flag. It's the Colombian flag, and my family's Colombian, so it means a lot that it's up there, and lots of Colombians have gone through Hotchkiss, so I like to see it there.
That one over there with stars and stripes on it. It takes me back to my childhood when my brothers and I used to argue about who got to put the flag out. 4th of July parades, and it's our country. It's my country.
I never thought I'd wanna fall. I always thought I had it all. Now I know what I was missing, you. So I'm dropping like a stone to the depths of the unknown. It's not my choice, can't hold back.
The intention behind putting up flags at the school was to recognize culture as opposed to nation states. So the Quebecois flag is up, for example. Somebody from Montreal came back from a break one year and said, "This is the flag of Quebec, would you consider putting it up? Because there's a lot of people here from Quebec and we have a lot of pride in our region of Canada." So we put up the Quebecois flag. And the flag of Hong Kong is up. Hong Kong is not a nation, obviously part of China, but that's up there too. And the Puerto Rican flag is up there. And the Palestinian flag is up there. So Palestine is not recognized as a nation by a number of countries. So it's really culture as opposed to countries. I didn't realize that there was a student who had Tibetan parents and had Tibetan heritage.
My name is Karmalama and I'm from New York City. I was born in Kathmandu, Nepal. I live there because it's too dangerous to live in Tibet. I don't really identify with Nepalese because I just live there, but I still practice Tibetan culture.
Beginning of this year, Mr. Thompson approached me with and wanted to know if I wanted the Tibetan flag up. So I thought it was a really cool idea, just because I know like a lot of people here didn't know I was Tibetan. So that was a nice way to kind of leave my mark on Hotchkiss. So he put up a little thing in the dining hall saying that these are all the flags he's going to put up, and Tibet was one of them. And I think some Chinese students saw, and Chinese who were actually from China, who live in China, and they thought that it was incorrect of them to put up the flag.
That's a lot of people's misunderstanding about this, because Tibet has always been China.
Like internationally, it's still the Chinese territory, because no one has ever said Tibet is not Chinese.
I understand for the Chinese kids that they, again, I don't know individually, but collectively they may have been sort of brought up with an educational background that says Tibet is a province of China.
And so there's no way for her to think that herself is Tibetan and not Chinese. She's Tibetan and also Chinese because Tibet is a part of China.
If you want to have your own identity away from China, that means you're separating yourselves from China, basically.
I know we also have Hong Kong and Taiwan flag and Macau probably, and those are also part of China, but Tibet is kind of different because Tibet is not a special region.
On some levels, that flag is both a political artifact and a cultural artifact. So the Tibetan student feels like, hey, this represents my culture. And then the Chinese students say, well, that's the flag of the Tibetan separatist movement. They're at war with the People's Republic of China, et cetera, and so on. So So I hadn't changed any of the flags because we had that debate all fall long.
But like out there, like in Hotchkiss, out of China, you suddenly find that it's an issue. Like people see Tibet differently.
My understanding was that it was an autonomous region within China, and again, perhaps through ignorance, I connected that in my mind to Hong Kong, which is a special autonomous region.
I believe as a historian that you should not misinform the public, and to have national flags hang with cultural flags misinforms. That's just a historical disagreement.
And so to display its flag sort of equal to the national flag of the People's Republic of China is somehow wrong.
But this is a public statement, and we shouldn't misinform.
The nearest analogy I can think of for Americans would be, again, the Indians, who are people that we sort of subjugated, we white settlers originally, and who continue not probably to want to be part of the United States.
The Tibetan flag, it's an army flag, to be honest. It's like I formed an army, like I'm a rebel and I formed an army and that's my flag. One of us have to convince the other.
America approves of the freedom of Tibet, so if it's just what they believe, I can't do anything about it.
Like, what can I do? They already insisted on putting it up. I don't have the power or something to change it. I'm just saying, like, Tibetan is actually, if you want to hang flags, then why don't you hang like Michigan flag and New York flag and like Connecticut flag and all states of America. And I can infer that it's Mr. Thompson who asked Karma. It's not Karma who asked Mr. Thompson.
What does it mean to you?
It means my homeland, my country, and like actually all I am.
Really?
I'm from China, so.
What would you feel if someone tore it down?
I want to tore their flag down, for sure.
Even though we don't have a country, we have a flag. The 12 red and blue arrows represent the 12, groups, provinces in Tibet. We live in the Tibet's in the Himalayas, and they're, snow lions. So the yellow border represents Buddhism and how, because most Tibetans are Tibetan Buddhists, but the fourth side is left open. There is no yellow border to symbolize the openness of Buddhism and how, it's open to everyone.
You see her everywhere you go, with an open smile into her soul. She's everywhere, doing everything, but never lets them see within. And oh, with open arms to bring you in. She's everywhere, doing everything, holds the fear within, reveals the face, her perfect vision. Turn away from the heart that fills her. Friends and family surround her with the face of her.
Tibet borders China on the southwest part of China. And so on one side of Tibet, on the southern side of Tibet is the Himalayas, and on the north side is China. So it has a long border with the mountainous range and with China. And in 1950, China invaded, or this is what I understand, China invaded Tibet and sort of took it over, and it became an autonomous region, meaning that China ruled it, but not directly. And so there are Chinese that believe that Tibet should be a part of China, and it has been and is a part of China. And then there are Tibetans who say, no, we're not a China. We don't speak, we're not Han Chinese. We don't speak Chinese. We speak, our own language.
Excuse me, how can we get to Chinatown from here? Just walk there and that's... Okay, thank you. Chinatown is not really only for Chinese people. There are like people from Europe. It's changing with the time. It's actually like the street that's behind my home. This is a little bit related to like Tibet. Like it means like when you have this on you, you're gonna keep yourself away from the evilness, like from the demons. Like the soup dumplings, they're the best. the Tibetan issue, like in China we never talked about that until they took action. I never knew that Tibet was trying to get away from China. When I was small, they keep saying that China's the 56 races, they're getting along really well, and the world is good, the society is good. In my childhood, we almost thought like China was really nice to them and they're nice to us.
Like the perfect.
Yeah, it's like a utopia. And after, like when they enter middle school, they suddenly realize the society is like so dark. Their minds are changing afterwards.
What do you mean?
They're more westernized. Sometimes I think China can be, a lot of Chinese people can be more open than American people because, no, I mean, the things they do are really revolutionary.
You take certain things for granted until somebody points out that there may be a better way of doing things. Chinese students, some of them who spoke up, were right to speak up.
They decided to separate the cultural flags and national flags, so places like Taiwan and Hong Kong and Quebec and the Tibet flag are going to be put up in a certain area. And they're going to write a little tidbit of why they're cultural flag and not national flag.
So if we have a culture room, we will have to consider the Confederate flag, wouldn't we? Would you put up the Confederate flag?
Phil, the Quebecois flag is coming down.
No, you're kidding.
But it's going to go over here in the cultural flag section. So, because Quebec is not an independent nation. So we're taking down the Palestinian flag and the Puerto Rican flag and the flag of Hong Kong, the Taiwanese flag, the Tibetan flag. That's what I wanted to do, but it's confusing to people, so.
I'm running this empty plane till 1. And on into the dawn, chasing after you, till I fall and remember 8,000 miles are true. It may not be so far, but I'm counting the days to get to where you are. But I'm counting the days to get to where you are.
The United Nations is the most important international governance body that we have. It may have many faults and flaws, but it is the most significant one, and therefore it seems appropriate to take as a guide the countries that they recognize as being independent, autonomous nations.
You know, calling it a cultural flag I feel like diminishes it a little bit, just because, you know, to me or to any other Tibetan, it's not a cultural flag, it's our country's flag.
Does our one Tibetan student feel as if she's somehow been made less important? I hope not. I really do hope not. And I think, difficult and painful as these things can be, sometimes you can get to a point where you realize that it was done in the best interest of all.
If you're a school, the school's community should be defined by the community of the people that are there. So that should be the governing standpoint. Flags, I think, cross that line. All of a sudden, you have a piece of art that is political. And it's not just a political piece of art because it's someone's interpretation of something. It is a part of the culture, and it's a part of people, but it's an image as well. You know, there are symbols on these flags that really refer back to the cultures behind them. I started hanging from the outside in, and because I did that, at a certain point, I made a room in the middle, and I realized this is what this project wants to be. It wants to be a tent. It wants to be a tent that welcomes everyone. This experience of something being peaceful, but at times it can be very dramatic. I mean, right now it's kind of breezy and quiet, but sometimes you get in there and it can be violent.
We're all human. We share the same human rights.
They're not all that different. They all speak different languages and they all practice different religions and have different cultures. I mean, in the end, like Matt said, we're all still the same. I mean, going back to everything that's happening in Hotchkiss, I think that's the whole thing about separating, putting cultural flags in this little area right here in the back, and then national flags in one area. It's like that kind of division is just not really needed.
I think that's a great point, actually, because like as a Chinese citizen, I've never thought like about that before.
I'm really glad that this happened. I'm really glad that that there was a debate, just because it got a lot of attention and people actually know now about the issue and about about the country and that I'm from Tibet. So.
Let's pretend the world is flat. We could go for a jog and nothing would last. Just fall right off. The issues and the pains just float right out, never to be caught again. How much did we win in this world? How much did we lose just to win? Does it really matter? All the little matters hold our ground, hold us down. But let's float away on a cloud-bound boat today. Can we agree the day is short, and the days make the months, and the months make the years, all adding up the time that we have into something worth having, but nothing worth wasting. How much did we win in this world? And how much did we lose just to win? Does it really matter? All the little matters hold our ground, hold us down. But let's float away on a cloud-bound boat today. Let's see what's out there beyond you and me. Beyond squirrels jumping high, beyond little butterflies, it's free, you'll see. But let's float away